amazing Spider-Man. For years, kids have loved his comic book adventures, but now he's made his TV debut in animation. Hi, I'm Stan Lee. I'm the publisher of Marvel Comics and the guy who dreamed Spidey up. How did our favorite web-slinger make it to TV? You're about to find out. Come follow me behind the scenes in Hollywood, where we'll meet the artists, the actors, the writers, and the other wizards who all put Spider-Man on the move.
Spider-Man on the move. We'll be right back. Now back to Spider-Man on the move.
Wow, amazing fantasy number 15. I've got to have it.
Fine, it's $1,000.
Oh, I don't really need it. Wow, I never dreamed the first Spider-Man comic would become so valuable. And it's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since I first thought up the story of Spider-Man. Peter Parker was a pretty typical high school student until one day at a science demonstration, he was bitten by a radioactive spider. Now, that accident gave Peter the power to climb walls. It also gave him tremendous spider strength. He vowed to fight crime as the amazing Spider-Man, and he became the most popular comic book hero in the world. The only trouble with comic books is they don't move. Until now. Welcome to Marvel Productions near Hollywood, California. This is where we're turning many of your favorite comic book heroes into animated TV shows. But before Spidey can move, we have to know where he's going. Now, that takes writers to create the story. And the first step is a story conference.
So, in other words, he has to do something where Firestar is brought into the scheme because of her powers.
Yeah.
She's the only one in the world who can do something along with him. That's good. I like that. That's fine.
There's a lot of give and take at a story conference. Don Glut and Christy Marks are two of our writers. They're suggesting storylines to Dennis Marks. Dennis is no relation to Christy, but he is story editor and producer for our latest television series.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
How evil was he? I mean, is he like a Frankenstein? Does he create a monster or something like that?
Television and comic books have one thing in common. They both depend on pictures to tell the story. Everyone at the story conference tries to come up with strong visual ideas.
Fire monster. A fire monster.
Huge. A huge monster is about, 10 stories high.
Bigger.
20 stories.
Now I'm scared. 20 stories is frightening.
And it stomps through the city, and everywhere it steps, everything bursts into flame.
Of course, any trouble our spider friends get into, they also have to get out of. If you write yourself a giant fire monster, you'd better be able to get rid of it.
Wait a minute. I've got an idea. Iceman freezes the Hudson River in columns. And on cue, they melt the ice columns, and the water comes rushing in, engulfing the fire monster, and we see his fiery hand go down.
As you can see, our writers can be real magicians when it comes to dreaming up stories. They keep the ideas coming, fast and furious.
I got it. The Goblin has a formula that'll turn everybody in New York into ugly little green goblins.
My formula will make everyone ugly, grotesque, horrific. Like me!
I got it. Craven brings dinosaur eggs back to New York, hatches them, grows them into a full-size army of dinosaurs, and uses them to take over the city.
Something I've always wanted to do. Let's take some ordinary little schlemiel, some little schlump, give him all the powers in the universe, and then throw in some villain like Dr. Doom to manipulate him. He can do anything.
I want new shoes and fancy clothes. And a gilded carriage with 6 black horses. And those nasty boys will be my foot servants.
Spider friends?
Spider friends?
Go for it!
Go for it!
Most of our TV characters come right from the pages of Marvel Comics, but every once in a while we have to create someone new, as Dennis Marks explains.
One of Spider-Man's amazing friends was supposed to be the Human Torch. But we were afraid if kids saw a fiery body, they might get the idea that it's all right to play with fire. So we changed the Human Torch into a brand new character. A beautiful woman called Firestar.
A number of artists came up with ideas for what Firestar should look like, but Rick Hoberg designed the final version. Rick started out as a comic book artist. He says drawing for animation can be a little trickier.
The design has to be simple and clean because there's hundreds and even thousands of drawings that go into even just one segment of an animated cartoon, and not one person will work on it, but maybe 1,000 people will work on it.
Rick has been one busy artist. Besides Firestar in the TV version of Iceman, he designed the evil Video Man, a sort of video game come to life. And that's not to mention Swarm, a super bad guy who's made entirely of living bees.
How are you? Oh, hi. Good tune. Listen, I was going over Don Blut's Chronicles of the Century script about the dinosaurs.
Larry Houston is one of our storyboard artists. It's Larry's job to take our written story and translate it into clear, interesting pictures that our animators can follow.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Okay, man.
More people than just kids who watch cartoons. There are people like myself who enjoy watching this. They enjoy the escapism. They enjoy the adventure. And when you adapt something and make it just like the comic book, you can enjoy it.
A finished storyboard is a lot like a comic book, and it gives us a chance to see how good our story looks all together. Or one last chance to change our minds. Now, this is when we hear from the president of Marvel Productions, that is, Mr. David DePatie.
Well, I'm always concerned about these areas because it's like we don't pay proper attention to effects. You know, we're always concerned about the character animation, but in the...
David DePatie ought to know a thing or two about animation. After all, he helped create the Pink Panther. David says there's a big difference between animating the Pink Panther and the Amazing Spider-Man.
In the case of the action-adventure characters like Spider-Man or the Hulk or any of the other Marvel characters, a great deal more attention is paid to story.
One more swing and I'll try it. Oh, no, you don't.
You see, we really have to tell a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Something that makes sense. Where with a character like the Panther, we're really more interested in fun.
When you work every day with such exotic make-believe characters, they begin to seem very real.
The Pink Panther, I've been drawing him for 15 years. Excuse me, I have to go.
I'd like to be probably Spider-Man because he can do anything he wants to do.
I'd like to be Iceman. It's nice with the ice cubes you get, you know, your lemonade.
Captain America, because he's cute.
I want to be Spider-Man, just like everybody else.
Perhaps, due to my diabolical nature, Dr. Doom.
Nobody but nobody messes with the Hulk. And besides, he's so savage.
The Mighty Thor, because he's got a nice way of doing things.
I always dreamed about being a real super villain like the Green Goblin, a real weirdo. The difference between me and everybody else is I got the chance to do it.
I caught me a wall crawler. You're at the mercy of the real Green Goblin. And of course, you know, I don't have any mercy. Where's my formula, web-slinger? My formula will make everyone ugly, grotesque, horrific, like me.
Very good, very good. Now come on in here and be a producer.
You'd better believe that Dennis Marks loves the chance to ham it up as the evil voice of the Green Goblin. Back in the recording booth, Dennis will work with director Alan Dinehart to make sure that every line of dialogue is recorded just right.
And then we do 208, Spider Friends, go for it. That's it? Okay.
Take one. If you had a formula, what would you do to get everybody in New York to try it?
Advertise on television?
No.
Actress Kathy Garver plays Firestar. Does she look familiar? She played Sissy on the TV show Family Affair. Iceman is played by actor Frank Welker. And Dan Gilvezan is the voice of the amazing Spider-Man. And Peter Parker, too, of course.
There is a difference between the two voices. Peter Parker is a college student. He's very unsure of himself in a lot of ways, especially with girls and things, and which I can relate to very easily. And like Peter might sound like, well, gee, we got to go over here sometime. It's a little bit sort of up in a higher register, a little bit different. When he becomes Spider-Man, he becomes a take charge sort of guy, and it's closer to my real register, and it's more like, Spider Friends! Spider Friends! Go for it!
We gotta have more enthusiasm with the go for it.
Every line of the script has a number. That's not only to help the actors to find their place. Later on, it will make it possible to splice the voices together. Director Alan Dinehart helps the actors deliver each line with just the right expression.
Once again now. Take two.
If you had a formula, what would you do to get everybody in New York to try it?
Advertise on television?
No. You get people to breathe it, or eat it,
Or drink it. He'll try to put it in the drinking water.
I hate to say it, but the wall crawler's right. And the city reservoir is right here in the park, just a few blocks away.
Spider Friends, go for it!
Very nice, very nice. We could use that.
Aunt May, don't! You've done enough work for today.
Peter Parker's Aunt May is played by the First Lady of Cartoon Voices, Miss June Foray.
I play Aunt May in Spider-Man, but you probably know me in quite a few other characters, like Hokey Smoke, Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and also Natasha on the same show, darling. And little Nell, who loves Dudley, but Dudley always loves his horse, unfortunately. And of course, all the fairy godmothers and the fractured fairy tales and the little princesses.
And don't forget scary, brash, impolite,
And all around, yucky.
In animation, the right sound effects are just as important as the right voices. Because recording tape is reusable, many of our sound effects come from our tape library. But an old pro like Joe Siracusa still likes to make some of his sounds the traditional way. By hand, and by foot, and by mouth. You never know where you'll find the next great sound effect. This is Ms. Lion, the Spider Friend's pet dog. Her bark is supplied by Iceman himself, actor Frank Welker.
Like, we were trying to find a voice. We could have done a Beverly Hills watchdog sound, which is was a little too small. So we decided it is a female dog, and we wanted to get a sound, so we went with
Another one of our strange and unusual effects that we're using in our Spider-Man series is something that I found years ago when I was traveling with the Spike Jones Band in a deserted old warehouse at Wahlberg and Auger's music store in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's something we're going to use for our swarm sound for our bees in our upcoming Spider-Man series.
Now we've got all the voices and the sound effects and the music recorded on reels of film, but they haven't been put together yet. But not to worry, we've come to the right place, the editing department at Marvel Productions. Sound editors like Joe Siracusa complete much of their work before our animators draw a single picture. Joe has to carefully measure the length of every word and every beat of music. This is information the animators will need to make the pictures move to fit the sound. All that soundtrack information is written on timing sheets. Animation directors like Bob Richardson refer to timing sheets again and again, especially when it's time to match the words on the soundtrack with the motion of the character's lips. Every second of a motion picture is made up of 24 still pictures or frames. The animation director has to estimate how many drawings are needed to create the illusion of smooth, natural motion. Bob will do enough of these drawings himself so that other animators can complete the drawings that are needed in between.
I think it goes through there pretty good, pretty smoothly.
We have many different directors and animators working on our Spider-Man stories. That's why we need supervising director Don Jurwich to keep an eye on the whole operation. Among other things, Don makes sure that Spider-Man looks the same from story to story. The best way to check whether a character is moving the way it was planned is to do a pencil test. That is, to make a test animation of the unfinished pencil drawing. This gives us a black and white sneak preview of how the finished work will look.
This one's where she comes around, and the special effects painting on it will be beautiful. We'll have the oranges and, all the fire. It's black and white tests. I'm always excited to see the color test.
Did you know there's such a thing as male paint and female paint? Well, take it from me. In Hollywood, anything is possible. What I mean is, the paint we use to color our female characters are a little bit pinker than the males. Now, I learned that here in Marvel's ink and paint department. Each of the animator's pencil drawings must be copied onto a clear plastic sheet called a cell. Our artists select from hundreds of colors and shades of paint. Each jar has been carefully mixed and numbered so we can find the same shade each time we look for it. The clear cells are painted on the back. That way, any mistakes can be easily scraped off and corrected. Did you notice that only a part of the complete picture appears on each cell? Often, several layers of cells are combined to make one finished picture. That way, the animator must only draw the parts that are supposed to move, without having to redraw the entire background, too. Here's where all our cells are combined with the right background, at the animation camera. Each cell has identical holes that fit onto precisely measured pegs on the camera table. That ensures that every picture is held in perfect position. Our animation camera is operated by John Burton.
All we do is we follow all the directors' and artists' instructions on the sequence of their drawings, how they're to be photographed, and in what order. What we're talking about in the still photography on motion picture film is the pictures I take one at a time when they're run through a projector at 24 frames a second. That's when it comes to life. The shot we chose to work on today was a relatively simple scene. But in the Spider-Man series, we do have some very complicated scenes where we stack multiple exposures one on the other. And you can get through a scene of, say, 200 exposures, and you have to match frame all 200 of them 5 times with various special effects. You get into the 5th run, and you make a mistake. That means you go back to frame 1 and you start all over again.
Much of the creative work we do is done right here near Hollywood, but there's so much work to do to make an animated show. We have to send it all over the place. Now, here in Utah, we do our storyboard layouts. Then a lot of the animation is done here in Korea, after which we segue way across the globe to London, where we do our music. We then go back again very often to Japan for more animation. Whew. Then finally, we're back home to Los Angeles, where we mix it all together.
If you can make it to the tunnel, it's a clean getaway. Beautiful, I can hardly see.
This is the audio mix, where the finished picture is combined with as many as 10 different soundtracks. Each of these soundtracks contains voices, music, or sound effects. And if we're going to hear them all on TV, they must be combined at just the right volume.
Let that ring off. There's plenty there, you know, where the cans are hit.
Yeah.
Let it continue on even after he sits up. We'll just figure in the background that a can has fallen over the other way.
Your windshield? The wall crawler. The web hedge. Just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Turn there.
Now there should, wait a minute. There's more.
Just your friendly neighborhood.
It's taken more than 100 people over 6 weeks to transform our Spider-Man story from a written script into an animated cartoon. And at last, it's finished.
Congratulations, just look what you've done. Congratulations, aren't you the clever ones? Congratulations, cause something new has begun. Cause Spider-Man's on his web and off the wall.
Hey, we call this a wrap party because we've just wrapped up the work on our first few episodes of Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Now, I want to say hi to some of my amazing friends, but don't go away. I want to talk a bit more with you, too.
Spider-Man on the move. We'll be right back. Now back to Spider-Man on the move.
To tell the truth, when I first came to Los Angeles, I had no idea it would take so much work to make Spider-Man move. But Marvel Productions is an exciting place to work. Everywhere I look, I see writers and artists turning their daydreams into real TV shows. That's not so different from growing up, from learning the skills you need to make some of your own dreams come true. Thanks for joining me.
return to the Incredible Hulk and the Amazing Spider-Man.
Hi, Spidey fans. This is Stan Lee, bringing you my favorite story of all, the exciting tale of how Peter Parker first became the Amazing Spider-Man. And now,